Hey there, you're listening to Genoa's Arcs, a self-reflective podcast exploring transformation with purpose, honoring growth and connection through awareness and presence. This is your host, Genoa K. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. This episode contains reflections on trauma and emotional recovery. It is not intended as a substitute for professional advice. Please trust yourself and seek support as needed from a licensed mental health or healthcare provider. The views expressed are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect those of any guests, sponsors, or platform providers. As the creator and host of this podcast, I believe that service and sustainability go hand in hand. The idea that serving others must mean depleting yourself or working for free is a myth I choose to not perpetuate. While much of this content is freely available, you may hear sponsor messages or occasional requests for financial support, all of which help to keep this space alive and well. Some content may be offered through a paywall as a way to honor the time, energy, and skill it took to create them. If access to paid content is a barrier for you, please visit the show notes for more information. This is the 9th episode of a storytelling series within this podcast called The 6 Arcs, a spiral journey into emotional recovery. Each arc contains 10 episodes and traces a story of emotional recovery, reflecting the non-linear, often turbulent nature of finding the way back to yourself. Arc 1, Reclaiming Innocence, is where it all begins. The first moment you realize something is stirring. It's about awakening and making contact with the parts of us that trauma buried, distorted, and silenced. It's the beginning of a return to play, curiosity, creativity, and to the deeper truth of who we are beneath the coping and despair. This is the phase where our inner world doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It tiptoes in, often disguised as a question. Remember me? In this series, we've explored the meaning of innocence, how it's been distorted, and how we begin to reclaim it through creativity, play, and connection to the inner child. We've also explored the reality of the messy, non-linear journey of emotional recovery and learning to protect what's been reclaimed. Then we dived into how wearing masks can cause us to disconnect from ourselves and others and finding purpose through innocence. In this episode, we're navigating a tender one, relationships. Because emotional recovery doesn't happen in isolation. It might start with us, but it gets tested, reflected, and stretched in connection with others. And reclaiming innocence doesn't just change how we see ourselves, it changes how we show up in love, in friendship, in family, and in community. Part 1, How Emotional Recovery Shifts the Dynamics of Our Connections. When you start healing, your tolerance for dysfunction goes down. What used to feel normal starts to feel heavy, exhausting, misaligned. You stop accepting breadcrumbs. You start noticing who respects your boundaries and who doesn't. You begin to crave realness over intensity, clarity over chaos. This can be liberating and it can be lonely. Because the truth is, some people were only connected to you through pain patterns. When you begin to change, they may resist, withdraw, lash out, or discard you altogether. But emotional recovery means learning that your worth doesn't depend on being chosen by people who don't see you clearly. Part 2, Reclaiming Safety, Vulnerability, and Real Intimacy. When we reclaim innocence, we reclaim the ability to trust again, not blindly, but with discernment. We learn that vulnerability isn't weakness, that safety isn't perfection, that real intimacy requires us to be seen, not just admired or needed. And we also learn to extend that same compassion to others, understanding that they're on their own journeys too. Reclaiming innocence allows us to choose partners from our wholeness, not our wounds, repair friendships without self-abandonment, communicate without controlling, love without losing ourselves. Part 3, Seeing Yourself Clearly to be seen clearly by others. The more clearly you see yourself, the easier it becomes to recognize what's real and what's performative in others. You stop seeking validation, you start seeking alignment, You stop asking, how can I get them to love me? And start asking, can this love hold me as I really am? When you reclaim your innocence, you no longer feel like a burden in relationships. You begin to believe, I am a gift. I bring something good into the lives of the people I choose to let in. Part 4, Closing Reflection. Relationships after healing look different, not because you become harder, but because you become softer with boundaries. You stop mistaking intensity for connection. You stop settling for being seen through someone else's projections, and you begin to realize the more I live from my truth, the more I attract people who can meet me there. You're not alone on this journey. I'm so glad you're here. If you've found value in today's episode and you'd like to support the ongoing creation of this space, you'll find ways to do so in the show notes. Support here is always optional, but also deeply appreciated. On the final episode of this series, we'll talk about what it means to carry your reclaimed innocence forward, not as a fragile thing to protect, but as a source of strength, clarity, and peace. Until next time, take good care. Genoa's Arcs is written, recorded, and produced by Genoa K. Original music composed and produced by Genoa K.